To start this new tutorial, the first thing we'll do is go to the Curve tab and create a circle. We'll draw it from the 0 point, and we'll make sure the radius option is visible, which means we're working in diameter mode. Set it to 1.5 millimeters. If you hold Shift, you can keep the seams perfectly aligned. Now, from the front view, move the circle up 15 millimeters, and then create a mirror from the 0 point. Hold Shift, click on one side, and now we have both circles. Next, go back to Curve and create a point from the 0 point. Move it negative 4.40 millimeters to the left. Then create a 3-point arc, starting from one side of the first circle to the other circle, using this point as the third reference. I'll switch to shaded mode so it's easier to see. We can delete this point. Now we'll use these curves to create a sweep. Run the sweep. Select the two profiles, then the curve that connects them, and right-click to confirm. If you notice that the surface is inverted, simply select it and type Flip in the command bar. That's it. Done. Now we need to create a surface where we'll build the pattern lines, and later project them onto this surface. For that, go to the Curve tab and use the Create UV command. Select it and create the surface. With a right-click, Rhino generates this square. We'll go to the Surface tab and move the square so we can see it clearly. Now we'll activate the Surface Points command and select the corners in order. This way, we'll create our new surface. We'll provide you with these curves, and this surface as well, but you already know how to generate them. And from here, you can create any pattern you want, depending on the model you want to build. Next, we'll use Smart Flow on surface. First, select the darker curves, meaning these ones. Avoid selecting the ones that extend outward by holding Ctrl to deselect them. Assign these as the deformable objects. For the base surface, select this surface, and for the target surface, select this surface. Then, under Base Surface Orientation, set it to Reverse. As you can see, it generates the first section correctly. Accept the command. Then select these curves. I'm going to deselect the ones at the ends, and also the line, and move them to another layer so they're easier to manage. While we're here, I'll also select that curve. This curve and this curve, move them to a layer and hide them. Now we will select the outer curves. In my case, the ones that are on the first metal layer. I will move them to another layer to keep everything organized. Then we will select them again. It is important to deselect the areas that fall outside the surface. After that, we will flow them as we did previously. We'll send them to the deformables, select the base surface, and to make it match correctly, we'll switch to reverse. Perfect. Now we accept. And we can hide all of these. And now we have the beginning of our model. We'll go to the front view and create a cutting line, roughly around here. Then we'll mirror it from 0. We will use the mirror command. Type 0 and press Enter to set the center point. Then, while holding Shift, click on one of the sides to execute the mirror. Now we trim the surface, using Trim. We'll do the same on the bottom part, using Trim. Now we need to remove the parts we don't want. We need the inner curves, so we select them, run Trim, and start deleting areas we don't need. Like this part. We will delete some areas of the surface. The idea is to create a kind of islands where we'll place our gems. Take your time. Pause the video and come back if you need to. At the end of the video, I'll share a tip on how to extract the reference model that you can use as a guide while you're modeling. Review the model, and once everything is ready, simply right-click to confirm. Now, from the front view, we'll move this down -0.4 millimeters and move this up 0.4 millimeters. Then from the right view, we'll move it to the left so that in the front view, it sits directly in front. Now select this curve, go to Curve, and project it onto these surfaces. Do the same with the lower curve. Now we can move these curves to another layer and hide it. Next, we go to Surface and create an offset inward of 1 millimeter. If the arrows appear pointing outward, click Flip All in the command bar so that they point toward the inside of the model. Then we repeat it for the rest. We'll select them all and offset 1 millimeter. Click Flip All in the command bar so that they point toward the inside of the model. If we're missing any, we'll notice because we still see pink areas. In that case, we repeat the offset and confirm. We keep checking until every region has been offset correctly. Once we make sure that all faces have the desired offset, we can continue. Now using Push and Pull, we will select the inner areas. If it doesn't detect the region correctly, we can first pull the curves onto the surface using Pull, and then when we use Push and Pull, it will select the inner region properly. Now, we enter 0.35 millimeters, and we repeat this for all areas. For Push and Pull to work, we need to make sure the curves are positioned exactly on top of the target surface, so we will use Pull on the areas that need it. Also remember that for it to work correctly and select only the desired area, the curves must form a closed region. If some areas are not properly bounded, you will notice that it selects more surface than intended. In those cases, we can either create an additional line to delimit that area or adjust the position of the existing curve. We continue doing this step by step, pushing by 0.35 millimeters and confirming each section. In this area, we may need to extend a curve so it reaches the correct point. We can select the control point of the curve we want to move and type Move in the command bar. Then select the point and move it to where we need it. In this case, to the curve it will intersect with. Once it reaches, we make sure all curves lie on the surface, and then we can trim what we don't need. If we type intersect, we might notice it intersects here, but not here. That means we need to move this point until it reaches the correct place. Then we split the curve remove the unnecessary section, and now we can push and pull properly again. In this part, we need to pull these curves onto the surface. If we have two curves, we join them so it becomes one continuous curve, and then we try again. If it still selects too much, we keep cleaning and pulling the curves until push and pull detects only the interior. In this case, I realized that I had two separate solids, which is why push and pull was not working correctly. So I used the Boolean union command to merge the two parts into a single solid. Now, we do 0.35, and it works. We keep going. Projecting, pulling, moving points when needed, joining curves, and repeating the push and pull until all sections are created correctly. Here, we can push and pull one area with 0.35 and this other area with 0.35. If we need to delete a face, we hold Ctrl plus Shift to select it. Now we have everything finished in terms of the pattern depth. Now we'll close the bottom and the top parts. We will use this curve that we used to create the surface of the model. Select it, then go to the Transform tab and use the Mirror command. Type 0 to set the center, and then, while holding Shift, click on the upper area from the front view. Then we'll create a blend with this curve. We'll keep the points aligned with the height of the horizontal curve. Holding Shift, we can raise this until it almost touches the top surface, and that gives us the shape we need. Now we can create another line with grid snap and cut the right side. Now to close the solid, we need to create a revolve using the curve we just created. Select the curve, go to the Surface tab, and use the Revolve command. Type 0 to set the central axis, then use the top point of the curve as the end of the axis. Right-click to confirm. Now we have the top part of the model. Since it's symmetrical, we can mirror from 0 holding Shift. And now we have the bottom part too. I'll make sure it stays on the same layer. We're almost done with the structure. From here, what's left is filling the model with gemstones. Now, how do we create the pavé? There are different options. We can use manual pavé. Assign the area, set a gem size, and place them one by one. We can also use automatic pavé for some parts of the model. On the channel, we have several videos explaining how to use the pavé command, but the basic workflow is the following. First, add the target surface, then define the gemstone sizes you want to use. Next, select a starting point and click Automatic, so RhinoArtisan computes the layout and positions the gemstones automatically. But a better workflow is to first extract the surfaces we want to work on. We can change them to a separate layer, so they're easy to identify. I'll do this for all the areas where we want gemstones. Make sure Copy is set to Yes, because we don't want to modify the original solid. Right-click to confirm. Move them to a different layer. And now we can start. Now we can begin adding gems. For example, we go to Add Diamonds, assign the surface, and start placing gems. We can start with 0.75 millimeters, using the guides, and place them to our taste. For this smaller area, I'll use Automatic Pavé. I assign the surface, set the gem sizes I want for this section, and then decide where to start. I choose a gem size, check where it fits, and place the first one. Then, following the guides, I keep placing gems. If we see we can fit a larger size, we switch. If we need smaller ones, we reduce. If we still can't fit 2 gems, we can start filling from the other side and work toward the center. As we decide where each gem goes, we can lock them. At this stage, we continue progressively filling the surfaces with gemstones. Now we can open Boutique, go to Cocktail Pendants, and here we have an example model. Then I'll bring the example model into the scene and move it aside so we can use it as a reference. Now I'll show our model again, and as you can see, it's very similar to this example. We can compare and adjust. Then go back to diamonds and place the gems the way we want. In my case, I already placed them, so now we can go to Dynamic Prongs, select all gems, set the diameter, and generate the prongs automatically. Once it computes, we can keep adding more manually. If we don't like some prongs, we delete them and place new ones manually. For example here, we take our time placing every prong we need, exactly as we want. Once all prongs are ready, we can go to Accessories and create a bail. We accept the default. Then we will select it and rotate it 90 degrees using the gumball. After that, type Artisan Center to center it and position it correctly. Once it is in place, we can edit it again if needed. We change the curve to 012 using the top profile. In my case, I will leave the width at 1.50 millimeters and adjust the height to 0.90 millimeters. The top diameter will be 2.10 millimeters and the bottom diameter will be 1 millimeter. I will set the internal distance to 3.80 millimeters. You can adjust these parameters as you prefer. Every designer has their own style, so feel free to adapt them to your taste. You can also remove the O-ring if needed and adjust the parameters of the lower bail profile. For example, you can use Profile 002 and even edit the curve control points to better match your preferences. I will adjust the width of the lower part to 0.7 millimeters and the height to 0.7 millimeters as well. Make sure to also configure the O-ring options so the bail can be properly fixed to the model. In my case, I use the following parameters: thickness, 0.6 millimeters, diameter, 1.60 millimeters, overlapping, 1.45 millimeters. Once everything looks the way you want, simply accept the command. Then adjust the position of the bail according to the new parameters. Now the model is completely finished, except for creating a beautiful render. I'll leave a reference render, but don't hesitate to share yours with us as well.